Hello, hello, hello. This webinar is being recorded. Thanks to everyone who showed up. My name is Benjamin Brooks, and welcome to Whitman-Walker's Writing Workshop for comments on the new implementing regulations for the Healthcare Rights Law, Section 1557 of the Affordable Care Act. I'm joined today by my colleague, Sarah Marr. Sarah, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi everyone, welcome. Thanks for joining. My name is Sarah, they them pronouns, and I am the policy communications coordinator here at Whitman-Walker Institute.
Thank you, Sarah. Sarah is an expert writer, so I'm very glad to have them join us today. As I said, my name is Benjamin Brooks. I use he, him pronouns, and I'm the Associate Director of Policy and Education at Whitman-Walker Institute, which is the research policy and education arm of Whitman-Walker. So the first portion of this webinar or this workshop will be recorded so we can use it again, but after the first portion is over, we'll turn the recording off so we can answer questions safely. The goal for this workshop is to make sure that everyone has an opportunity to get any of their questions answered so that we can put the best comments forward for having the strongest rule that we can. So the first thing I'm going to do is spend a few minutes level setting on what the rule is, its very long history, and how these regulations can help expand access to care. And then I give a very brief explanation of the three different parts of a useful comment, and then we'll open the floor for questions. All right, so what's going on? Well, the Patient Protection and Affordable Care Act, we have to go back to 2010 when it became law, but it includes many sections that regulate health care and health insurance. And one provision, which was section 1557, is what we call the Healthcare Rights Law. I won't quote the whole passage to you, although it is pretty short, but I will say that it says that any individual shall not be excluded from participation in or denied the benefits of or subjected to discrimination under any health program or activity, or any part of which is receiving federal financial assistance. So that means any health program in the United States that is receiving federal financial assistance, which means Medicare, Medicaid, many different private health insurance and health insurances that you get through your job. All of these, many of these, I should say, are protected by 1557 and of the Affordable Care Act. This is really great news. It was the law was enacted in 2010, but it took 6 years for HHS to issue the first set of implementing regulations, which is basically the way that the federal government explains in detail how it's going to interpret and enforce the new law. Different agencies issue implementing regulations all the time for the laws that they are responsible for. This helps us and the public know how to obey the law and to avoid being sued by the federal government. Now, in 2016, HHS published the rule for the Affordable Care Act's Healthcare Rights Law under the Obama administration, which expanded protections for LGBTQ+ people, people with disabilities, and people with limited English proficiency. Whitman-Walker commented in support of the 2016 rule, along with thousands of others. Well, so the story's not over, right? So in 2020, HHS under the Trump administration issued another version of the implementing regulations, which removed explicit protections for LGBTQ people, reduced language access requirements, and overall reduced the clarity of non-discrimination protections. So we commented in opposition of the 2020 rule, along with about 139,000 other people, because we believe that LGBTQ people need explicit protections in healthcare to combat fear and discrimination. So when the 2020 rule was published in its final form, we sued along with many others, and we won those lawsuits in federal court because we had a strong record in the administrative process that showed how important explicit protections are for LGBTQ people. So now it's 2022. HHS under the Biden administration has published another set of implementing regulations to replace those that were promulgated in 2022, which, to really oversimplify, reinstates the protections for LGBTQ people. There are some improvements as well. This time around, the rule includes intersex people and makes sure that people on Medicare Part B, which are elders that buy publicly subsidized private plans, are protected as well. So we at Whitman-Walker are commenting in support of the 2020 rule and really encourage you to do so as well. Okay, so that's the background of how we got here. The ACA was passed in 2010, rule in 2016, Trump administration rule in 2020, now Biden administration rule in 2022. So what makes a good comment? What are we really trying to communicate here? So there are three parts to a really good comment, I think, in brief. The first part is your individuality. You have to tell HHS who you are and why your opinion matters. Share something about yourself and your background. Are you a member of a marginalized community? Do you have special needs to access healthcare well, like a translator or an accessible building if you're a wheelchair user? So just let HHS know why they need to pay attention to you versus someone else. They're going to receive thousands of comments from people that are just copying and pasting a negative sentiment, and those aren't helpful. What's helpful is to share from your experience why this is important to you. So for example, for Whitman-Walker, we are going to tell them about our 40 plus years of experience of providing healthcare to sexual and gender minority people and the expertise we have based on that experiences. I do want to share that it's important to be careful when you write comments from yourself, because the comments are public record. So don't share any private information like your phone number or address. You want to make sure that you protect yourself. Okay. So the second part of a good comment is to tell your story. It's a little bit different than the first, because the first is telling them why they should listen to you. But here in the second part, share your message. We need to let them know about your experiences that have hindered you or helped you in accessing healthcare. Have you had an experience that made you never want to visit the doctor again? Many LGBTQ people have. So sharing what happened to you can help demonstrate that non-discrimination protections are very important still in 2022, which is part of makes our case for the rule very strong. Okay, so the third and final thing is to state clearly that you support the rule. The extra credit, sort of fourth thing that you could do if you're feeling very creative, is tell HHS what you wish had happened, right? These are not final regulations. This is a notice of proposed rulemaking. So HHS can still make changes. So your ideas and creativity might have the key to helping somebody else. So if you had a negative experience and you have an idea about what could have happened that would have made it better, share that with HHS. Okay, so those are the three parts of what makes a great comment on this proposed new rule. I think we did that in less than 10 minutes. That's pretty great. So I'm going to turn off the recording now and we'll have an open dialogue.